Hello, and welcome to Khyber Shards, a 5th edition actual play show set in the Eberron campaign world. It is Friday, and so we are here with a Khyber Shards Answers featuring the other half of our dynamic Fey duo, Colin.
Tis I. Tis
Tis
I.
ye. So this was a cool episode for Pog.
This
I,
this was a cool episode.
oh,
Like
well, thank you.
I don't think I honestly I don't think Shade or Pog had a bigger episode than the other. I liked the fact that this felt like a duo. We had some substantial things that we got into and encountered and dealt with and defeated. If that's what happened. it was a delightful episode. Yeah, I was thoroughly unprepared at the start of the session for how quickly I was going to feel my blood pressure spike. Because this was the first episode that we played that night.
Yeah.
So this is like, hey, how's everybody doing? Been a couple weeks. How are you? Okay, Pug, you are losing your head now.
I liked this episode and the Green Knight for the opportunity to take the Feywild into a genuinely dark place. We've played
Mission
around with
accomplished.
kind of goofy dark.
Yep.
In some places, but to take it into a dark and also not especially whimsical.
Yeah, we
place.
left the Tim Burton behind.
Yeah.
This is not the Neil Gaiman Feywild any longer.
Right. So I liked being able to do that and to take, the Green Knight and make it feel sort of like a primal concept of that story that's been told in a lot of different ways.
I just didn't want to be around that tree anymore, to be honest with you. I think that might be the darkest setting that you have given us this campaign. Just a giant tree full of heads, because that's what's so important is these aren't skulls.
Right.
There's still flesh on these heads. And then that's so much worse to me. And it was very challenging. It's a very unsettling place for two characters who really enjoy energy, who are really kind of bubbly characters.
Yeah.
I mean, Pog wrestles with his own darkness, as does Shade, but they are the optimistic duo of our strike force. They are the energy. They may not be the moral compass, but they've got some driving force to them. And to run into a roadblock of primal's a great word, just evil presented. There's no way you interpret a tree full of decapitated heads as neutral.
Yeah, right.
Oh, we're in the bad place. Okay.
It was I was planning that while monitoring a study hall.
If only they knew.
And I was trying to think how to introduce the knight, because I had this idea of the knight as slightly inhuman, without adding an extra character, because I really wanted the domain to just be the knight. And so I had the idea of the tree, because we're playing with Arthurian stuff, and there are a couple of different places from different versions of Arthur that I read as a kid. I had a big illustrated sort of young reader version of the King Arthur stories that was, as I now recall, beautifully but also kind of graphically illustrated in terms of violence. But their version of the story of Arthur and the Black Knight the Black Knight is standing under a tree with the shields of all the knights that he's jousted and defeated hanging in the tree. And his own shield is hanging from a branch, and to challenge the knight, you ride up and you strike his shield. And then in several different versions of the Quest for the Holy Grail story, Galahad comes across this horrible tree where he sees the corpses of all of the knights that have been slain in the course of the quest, hung in the branches. And so those two ideas, those two just images, and maybe that's an image from the Excalibur movie, or maybe it's from Stephen Lawhead's Pendragon Cycle, which was the other very influential Arthurian adaptation that I remember from childhood. But some those two images from various Arthurian adaptations that I read when I was young, kind of merged into the Hanging Tree as a storybook concept. And it's certainly already dark, but it definitely became darker when we decided to talk to it.
That it was called out in the watch party, but you could distinctly tell there was a moment where you went, I have got to remember that they're going to do this all the time now.
Yes, I don't know why it never occurred to me that you would talk to this. I wasn't ready for to talk to the tum-tum trees
that has been presented.
I don't know why.
Of course they're going to talk to it. And you put a bunch of faces on it. Like, this one's going to have stuff to say. We're going to talk to this tree.
Yep.
Yeah, that did get heavy. I really like the way you said as a storybook element, because going through the portal, the word picture that you painted for us definitely had the feeling of arriving in a different story. Mm-hmm. And the way the tree responded to us with many lifetimes to like, oh, this is right. We're in a story. You've really expanded my imagination with this story concept in the Feywild on this arc. I'm having the best time.
Thank you. It has very much been just an exercise in drawing out as many fairy story images from my hyperactive imagination as a kid, mm-hmm. And plugging them in here and finding ways to use them. Images, I mean, like, just sort of images have been most of the things that I've tried to create. So the Hanging Tree, and with the message on the shield, summoning the knight's voice coming from the earth rather than the night. My only regret is sighing, because I think it suggested more humanity in the night, and I wanted to leave that more questionable.
Yeah, I can understand that regret, but also Pog and Shade can definitely be trying. Especially, I can't imagine where you were at in your preparation of, like, here is this impending doom, mm-hmm. handle it. And then we're like trying to negotiate with our aloofness.
Yeah. But that was fun. Okay, I want to talk about Pog's reaction to the thing, but we have some questions about the event. So let's look at these. First, we have a question from Emily.
Hi, Emily.
Colin, does Pog hope that the scar from the Green Knight will stay or leave when he leaves Thelanis?
If you're asking with where Pog is right now, he's given zero thought to it. I think that's a delightful question, genuinely. But the headspace that we are in at the end of the most current episode, that the only real consequence is that his head is still on. When he recovers, I think he's gonna hope it stays.
Yeah.
Pog is not one to want to hide the things that he has endured. He is no longer in his quest for glory, but having had his first real experience with perhaps a quest of righteousness, being marked by it will not be a bad thing. And I think having received the tattoo previously, there's been this reference for the Strike Force that being marked at the end of accomplishing something noble is its own badge of nobility, you know? So yeah, I don't think he's going to want it to go away. Lord knows I wouldn't, especially after the reaction you get when you return to the court. Anytime you get a Kalukale, you're going to want to bear a memory of that. And so, yeah, I don't think he's going to want it to go anywhere. It's a great question, though.
Yeah. Discovering that I wanted to use Kalukale as hip hip hooray was a wonderful moment. Trying to figure out because been trying to use lots of Jabberwocky vocabulary and finding a way to do that. I don't think I've said frabjous yet. I got to find a way.
I have faith. We're not done.
Frabjous.
You have time.
Emily would also like to know: did you know the original Arthurian legend of the Green Knight before this adventure? And if yes, how nervous were you to face him? And Emily shares that she was very nervous about it.
No, I didn't. I know the idea of the Green Knight as a challenge, as a test of honor, but no, I didn't know. I have a lesser relationship with the legends of King Arthur than it sounds like you do. They were a part of my childhood, but my father took me in a direction of more history based tales or tales of outright fantasy. None of the gray middle ground that Arthur kind of straddles the fence on. And so no, I knew when Philip told us that's where we had to go for the Snicker snack, that this is a test. But then again, in my mind, it was, we're going into a story, so we're just going to have to go survive a story of some sort. And because we had a 2-week break between him dropping that on us and us recording again, I chose to fight the temptation and to not look up the Green Knight. Because if this had been at the table in a normal gaming session, where we play for 4 or 5 hours, I would have just gone straight in blind, and I didn't think it was right to unorganically play and go try to research, and so I didn't read the Green Knight stories or mythos or any of it. So I don't have any reference for it, but I'll tell you, I think that might have made me more nervous because when you know a frame of reference, you have some idea of the scope, but when you don't, all I knew was it was me and Casey versus Philip's imagination, and that is an imposing foe. And so I all the way up until the knight picks his head up. I think you can see my reaction of recognizing what was going to happen. I didn't have any idea the entire time. There was so much anxiety, which is why I was so fully open to the debate, because this didn't seem like it was going to be a fair or straightforward fight.
Right.
Which is honestly the only reason that I argued with Shade at all.
Yeah.
Because I'm all in favor of Shade taking the fight.
Sure.
But it was a matter of, I don't think she's ready to get up close with this huge imposing character.
Mm-hmm.
Was the only reason I argued against it. I really enjoyed that little dialogue between us
Oh, I did too.
of neither of us want this.
Right.
We both know we want what happens at the end of this, and it was just a great moment of understanding between the two characters of being a full unit together, of that teamwork. And I love that she was right there. Oh, I was so ready, but I just wrestled with myself going, he has a sword. Can she get away from his huge strides if this is how it goes? So then when it went the other way, so much regret thinking I had just killed Pog. And I was thinking to myself, were you prepared for this? What if Pog had chosen to swing short and just swung into the slab and not onto the Green Knight?
I did have some thoughts as to what would I do if Pog was unwilling to strike um an unarmed opponent or something like that. If Pog went for that, and I had some thoughts on where to take that. Um, and part of it was I wasn't sure because I know Casey knows the Green Knight story because she teaches it, or she used to. They learned it in senior Britlit in our school, and um, there are a lot of different versions of it, and what Sir Gawain is supposed to learn depends on the version uh, that you've learned, and the version that I knew best is the Tolkien translation because, of course, um, and in that one, which is a fairly late iteration of the story, which is heavily Christianized, there's a lot of there's a certain do unto others kind of thing that that Gawain is supposed to be learning here. Gawain is the headstrong knight, and so when that's a funny phrase for this. When the Green Knight rides into Arthur's Christmas feast and offers this challenge, and Gawain's like, "Yeah, cool, I'll do this," and runs over and immediately beheads the Green Knight, and the Green Knight picks up his head and says, "Okay, in 1 year you come to my house for Christmas, and I get to hit you." Uh, it's very much obviously the lesson that Gawain is supposed to learn is look before you leap and be less callous. Uh, and um, and in the event, the Green Knight spares Gawain. Like the Green Knight chooses not to behead Gawain for his bravery. I I didn't want the Green Knight. I wanted the Green Knight story to still be about honor, but I didn't want it to be about chivalry anymore.
Mm.
Because I wanted to present something that felt, to me at least, uh, older and more pagan. Um, and so I wanted the test to be more about uh, courage than mercy.
Mm.
Um, so you took the path that I had most intended, that the Green Knight's hints were supposed to intend for you to get to. But I did have some thoughts on different places we could go. What if they had just attack the Green Knight, and I had stats in case you just attacked the Green Knight, and what do I do if Pog's just unwilling to play this game or that sort of thing. So I had a few notes on that, but um, you you went with the path that I intended the Green Knight to guide you toward, which was fun to see. Um, but
I was a
yeah,
little nervous that Shade was just going to shoot him.
Yes.
And you
I
gave
I
her
was
enough
really
time.
was really unsure what Shade would do after the Green Knight stood back up, like
Yeah.
with the possibility that Shade might decide nope and go for it.
It was the moment that I turned to look at her that I was like, oh, I hope Shade doesn't shoot this guy. I don't think we can beat him. if this is how he's living his story, I don't think this is someone we defeat. If he has the weapon that can kill the thing we couldn't damage, I don't think we win in this fight.
Yeah. Laura, speaking of that, Laura inquires, what would have happened if Pog hadn't kept his word to the Green Knight, and if Pog had failed the con save after the beheading? Um, like I say, I was prepared for them to fight the Green Knight. I had some notes on exactly how it would play out if Pog proved false to his word, but I was prepared for them to fight the Green Knight as a traditional and very challenging combat encounter, because I thought that might be the way they went. I think it went in the way that was most interesting, and
I
I'm
would
really
agree.
glad for that.
I am too.
And I don't want to tell you what would have happened if Pog had failed the Constitution saving throw.
I think that it's because I'm here. I think you would really enjoy telling them, but I don't think that's something that I should get to know.
I like that remaining mysterious.
Yeah.
I was really like very close to the episode, still trying to figure out what exactly happens when the Green Knight takes his swing, because obviously I'm not necessarily looking to just outright kill Pog. That's not very interesting as storytelling goes. And so I just decided to go with something that felt very magical and mysterious, the meaning of which and the effect of which is not obvious in the moment.
Yeah.
And the real question that no one asked, that I want to allow to fester in people's minds, is what would the heroes have seen if they had looked back at the decorations and the branches of the trees afterwards?
Sounds like a KSA question.
Mia inquires along the same lines. Did you know exactly what Philip was going for with the Green Knight challenge? I wasn't clear about what was going on, but you seemed to intuit exactly, and really role played it brilliantly. I agree. And did you have a sense of what might be happening beforehand, which we've discussed? And then how the heck did you summon up those tears?
Well, thank you. That's very sweet. No, I didn't know where Philip was going. I definitely did. We've been friends for 20 years. So we have a good understanding of each other and of our tastes and our peculiarities. And so that's why I kind of had a feeling as soon as the knight lowered his head, that this is a one opportunity thing here. I wasn't prepared for him to pick it back up. But then when that realization hit, I knew Philip had me on an even more shallow than a storybook level. Philip had me in a BioWare game of, okay, did what I said I was going to do. I'm going to do what you said. Everything's on are you going to do the thing you said you would? And I've sat in this chair talking on a KSA too many times to be able to justify Pog backing out. He's issued too many challenges in too many places, and not in a blowhard kind of a way, not in a blustery, just in a man of action sort of sensibility. Yep. All right. I guess I have to, which is why the response to Shade was, this is not how it was supposed to end. I wasn't supposed to lose in a game. I didn't know I was playing. I was supposed to die in a battle or making a sacrifice, not in a game. And then that's where the realization as the tear fell that this is the sacrifice. This is more than that. This is a statement of who we as a group are. And it was tough. So no sense at all. And some in the tears, I'm a very sad man is the simple answer. Honestly, I had a moment where Pog died. You didn't sit in the moment, but it took a pregnant pause, a little moment to sigh, and then carried on. And Pog had died, and my mind immediately went, as it does, someone who's had a lot of death in life. I just started thinking about the other characters, man. Like, how does Shade go tell Ari this? How do Ari and Shade go tell Solarka this? Like, what is Hular's reaction going to be when he hears of this? To the young man that I think, in my interpretation, he's enjoyed the badgering of his daughter's suitor. What does this do to the kids at this school? You know, how many people have needed Kolos Crusher t-shirts? Like, it was this is over. He's gone. And the impact will be substantial because our characters have touched a lot of people's lives. And so then for the victory to have been something that is not his physical strength, but the strength of his character, is something that's brand new for Pog. And I've never had someone try to cut my head off, but I can absolutely relate to those moments where you didn't think you had it in you.
Yeah.
And you did, and you won. And it's a lot to process. So I just went to that place. I had to stop talking real quick because I was like, I'm going to actually break down here into some sobbing because I'm not the kind of actor that goes halfway. So yeah, it was a very challenging moment. We faced Pog's gone down. I've never thought he was going to die.
Right.
You know, there's always been people around to cure wounds and to pour healing potions down my throat. But this one, no, this is over. And then the visceral, if you rewatch, Philip's word pictures are, I'm sure they're quite pleasant and entertaining and vivid as a listener or a viewer. As a player, they cross into visceral, and the description of the blade passing straight through the neck, and then, you know, the blood from all angles. That's a lot to process as someone who's attempting to be in the headspace of that. I've also woken up from fainting to hear traumatic things, so you know it's a pretty easy headspace to return to. Not one I recommend doing, even if you know it, though. You'll need cheese balls afterwards. That's my solution.
Great. No, I was really excited about this episode and that whole session, with including the episode that will drop on Monday. I loved the dynamic in this particular episode. This is the only point, like there have been a few points where I'm like, it's really cool to see Pog and Shade step out on their own. This is one of the only times where I've thought, I'm really glad that neither Ari nor Esri are here.
Mm.
Because I cannot imagine Ari and Esri allowing this to go forward.
Yeah.
Because they're just too sensible
They're
to
too logical,
allow it
absolutely,
to go forward. And we've talked about, you and I have talked about, Pog has kind of talked about, and we've talked about on KSAs, that there is something deep inside Pog that more than even Shade, who is Fae, wants to be the heroic character in a story.
Yeah.
Wants the legendary named weapon and the epic status. And so having an opportunity for Pog to get to do that, to get to step into here, and I really liked your reaction to it not coming down to a sword fight with the knight, to it not coming down to that, to it being something different. Because I really wasn't sure. I was a little afraid that would be disappointing. I was a little afraid that that it being so brief. I mean, this, that part of the episode is just sort of like the middle 20 minutes or middle 25 minutes of the episode. I was a little concerned that it would be disappointing that the Green Knight episode wasn't some sort of grand epic boss fight. But I have tried very hard to not let the Feywild behave in an expected way.
Yep.
And yeah, so I really enjoyed this. I think this was great.
You've definitely won. I think it's also a very interesting dynamic to have these two in, because they are willing to have a story be told to them and to change a story. And in the world of a story, you have the two characters who aren't going to try to find plot holes. You know, like these are suspension of disbelief people. They would just live in a Pixar world and not try to pick anything. And having Ari or Esri along would be how we can loophole, how we can get around. And it's not that they would have said we have to fight. It's that they would have said there's another way. And this lets the story be told. And there's something really profound about the fact that, obviously this is a story that Philip is taking us on, and a journey that is guided, but Shade and Pog have grown from every story that they've been told in different ways. And Saving River, being the first of them, provided a new sense of purpose for both of those characters on what I think might be a different, if not deeper level than it did for the other two, of, providing that sense of direction for who and how they should be. And so the two of them are very much, we're going to let the story take us to where the next page turns. And it's been a lot of fun to be on this journey with Shade. Do that. And Casey's an incredibly generous player to be sharing the space with. So yeah, I'm having a blast. I'm terrified to go any farther in this story in the best way possible.
I'm very excited. We've got at least one more session to record of this, and I'm really excited to be able to carry this out. This has been, I don't know, it's been very improvisational, but also I have a really clear idea of where this comes to a head, and I'm really excited to see what becomes of all of this.
I'm in danger.
I mean, that's definitely true. You're in the Feywild, so
yeah, and they don't know where I currently am. It's not. Our circumstances haven't brightened. You didn't pop us out in Oz. I I can't wait. I can't wait to hear people's reaction to the way you end the next episode.
I am very excited for the next episode and the next
misery.
Session. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Well, that is all of our questions for this week. Thank you all so much for submitting questions for us week after week. If you want to submit questions, you can do so over on our Discord. And the link to that and all of our other social media is in the description down below. You'll also find there a link to Colin's Twitch, where he is sorry BTR. The O is a 0. We'll have a new episode of Khyber Shards this Monday and new Khyber Shards answers next Friday. And until next time, thanks for rolling with us.
Kaloo Kalay!